Clara had grown up hearing stories that settled deep inside her heart. Stories whispered by neighbors, travelers, and old cowboys who spent their evenings outside the saloon, telling tales about the Apache warriors. Some stories spoke of danger, some spoke of survival, and some were filled with fear more than truth. As a child, Clara listened to them with wide eyes and a racing heartbeat. And even now, as a young woman living near the Arizona borderlands, those stories still followed her wherever she went. Her mother often reminded her to be careful when wandering near the creek or the forest because those hills don't belong to us alone. Clara nodded every time, but she had never seen an Apache up close. The word alone made her heart tighten, as if danger was hiding behind every shadow. She didn't hate them. She didn't understand them. And fear usually grows the strongest, where understanding is missing. One warm afternoon, the sky was clear, and the sun glowed over the valley. Clara walked toward the creek with a metal pail in her hand. It was a peaceful place she often visited alone. Birds chirped. The breeze smelled of summer grass, and the gentle sound of water flowing over smooth stones helped her forget the noise of the settlement behind her. She knelt near the water and filled her pail, watching the surface ripple. Then she heard something that made her freeze. A steady rhythm, slow, heavy, too controlled to be a wild animal. A horse. Her spine stiffened. She had heard horses many times, but this one sounded different. She didn't move. She didn't breathe for a moment. Finally, she turned her head slowly, and her heart almost stopped. A tall Apache warrior sat on a dark horse a few yards away. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He only watched her with eyes that held a calm strength she had never seen before. His long hair fell to his shoulders, tied loosely with leather bands. His face was serious but not angry. His presence was powerful, quiet, but impossible to ignore. Clara's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to stand, but her legs wouldn't obey. She thought she should run, but her feet felt rooted to the ground. Her pulse throbbed so loudly she could almost hear it. The warrior dismounted with smooth, controlled movements. His boots touched the earth without a sound. He approached the creek slowly, not toward her, but toward the water. Clara gripped her pail tightly, unsure if she should speak, stay still, or make a soft cry for help. He crouched near the water, filled a leather pouch, and then looked at her again. His gaze was sharp, not cruel. It felt like he was reading her fear, her confusion, and something else she didn't want to name. Her voice trembled without permission. Don't look at me like that. Wicked Apache. She hadn't meant to say it. The words escaped before she could stop them. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. She didn't want to insult him, but her fear spoke louder than her thoughts. Instead of becoming angry, the warrior showed a small, calm smile. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't threatening. It looked almost understanding. He spoke in soft English. "I will not harm you." She blinked in surprise. She had never heard an Apache speak so gently. She never expected him to speak with such steady kindness. His voice completely unbalanced her fear. He rose to his full height. She noticed then that he carried no weapon in his hands, only a simple pouch of water. His posture was relaxed, but confident. "I am Tahoma," he said. Hearing his name felt like a strange shift inside her. Suddenly, he wasn't a story or a warning. He was a real person, standing in front of her. Someone with a name, a voice, and eyes that didn't match the old tales she grew up hearing. Clara swallowed hard. I should get home. But she didn't move. Something about him held her there, not fear, not danger. Something unclear and powerful. Tahoma nodded once, respecting her space, then stepped back toward his horse. Before he mounted, he looked at her a final time, as if he wanted to leave her with a sense of safety, not fear. Then he rode away, disappearing between the hills like a shadow that belonged to the land. Clara stayed frozen long after he was gone. Her heart thumped wildly inside her chest. She slowly stood, lifting her pail with shaky hands. She kept replaying the moment, his steady eyes, his quiet voice, the unexpected gentleness that confused her far more than the idea of danger ever had. She walked home, but her steps were slow. Her thoughts swirled like wind. Why didn't she run? Why did her fear vanish the moment he spoke? Why did his eyes make her heart feel strange? That night, her mind refused to rest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him again standing by the creek. She kept remembering his calm smile when she called him wicked. But instead of feeling insulted, he looked almost amused, almost human in a way that the stories never mentioned. Days passed, but the memory stayed. One early morning, Clara was asked to gather herbs from the hillside for an injured neighbor. She didn't hesitate. She liked wandering alone, and believed the creek incident was a one-time thing. But weather in the borderlands changed fast. Clouds rolled in suddenly, and thunder cracked across the sky. Before Clara could run back down the hill, a strong wind pushed against her. Rain began pouring heavily, making the ground slippery. She hurried across a narrow path, but the mud loosened under her feet. Her ankle twisted sharply, and she fell between two thick boulders. Pain shot through her leg. She tried to stand, but the sharp sting made her cry out. The storm grew stronger around her. Water ran between the rocks, and she knew she had no way out on her own. Fear filled her chest, not fear of warriors or stories, but fear of being trapped, alone, and helpless in the cold rain. As darkness grew, she hugged herself tightly, shaking. Hours passed. She began to wonder if anyone would find her before the night became too cold. She prayed someone would pass by the path. Then she heard a sound. Footsteps. Steady, strong, familiar. A torchlight appeared above the rocks. A deep voice called gently, "Clara?" Her breath caught. That voice, she knew it. Tahoma climbed down toward her with careful hands, guiding the torch between the stone walls. His face showed real concern. Not fear, not judgment, only worry. "How did you find me?" she whispered, half crying, half shivering. "I saw your tracks in the mud," he said softly. I followed. Her heart clenched painfully. He had been searching for her. In the storm. Alone. Without hesitation. He carefully lifted the stones trapping her leg and helped her stand. When she winced in pain, he immediately supported her weight with his arm. She leaned against him because she had no choice, but she felt something unexpected: security. Warmth. A kind of protection she had never felt before. He walked slowly, matching her pace, making sure her ankle didn't hurt too much. Rain soaked both of them, but Tahoma didn't seem to care. His only focus was getting her to safety. Clara's cheeks warmed despite the cold. She felt the strength in his arm, the steadiness of his steps, the calm comfort of his presence. Every moment near him erased more of her old fear. By the time he brought her near the settlement, the rain had slowed. He didn't step too close to the town's edge to avoid trouble. Instead, he stopped under a large tree where the road split. "You are safe now," he said quietly. Clara looked up at him, her breath catching again. She wanted to ask why he came, why he cared, why he had tracked her through a storm. But her voice failed. Before she could speak, he turned as if to leave. "Tahoma," she whispered. He paused. "Thank you for saving me." He didn't smile, but his eyes softened. He nodded once, then vanished into the trees, leaving her heart trembling in a way she didn't understand. That night, Clara lay awake with her ankle wrapped in cloth, unable to sleep. She remembered every moment of that rescue, his hand on her arm, his steady voice, the way he searched for her without fear of the storm. Fear had brought her trembling heart to the creek that first day. But now something else made her heart tremble. And she finally admitted to herself that maybe Maybe her fear was never about him. It was about how deeply he affected her, with nothing more than a look. Days passed after the storm incident, and Clara tried to return to her routine. She helped her mother, fed the chickens, and swept the porch every morning. But no matter what she did, her thoughts kept drifting back to Tahoma. Every small sound from the forest made her lift her head, wondering if he was there. Every breeze that brushed her face reminded her of the moment he lifted her from between the rocks, steady and gentle, as if her safety mattered to him more than anything. She told herself not to think about him, not to daydream, not to let her heart wander, but the heart rarely listens when it has already begun to change. Whenever the settlers talked about Apache raids or disputes, Clara's chest tightened. She wanted to defend him, to tell them he wasn't like the stories. But she remained quiet. She wasn't ready to explain to anyone what she didn't fully understand herself. One afternoon, while gathering herbs near the forest edge, Clara felt a strange awareness, like someone familiar was watching her. Her heartbeat sped up, but it wasn't fear, it was something warmer, something that felt almost like anticipation. She turned slowly. Tahoma stood under the shade of a cedar tree, silent and calm, as if he had been waiting for her. His presence felt like the same steady force she remembered, but this time she didn't freeze. Instead, she felt her breath soften. He stepped forward only when he saw that she didn't step back. "Your ankle," he said, his voice the same warm tone she remembered. "Is it better?" Clara nodded, though her heart trembled. "Much better." She gave a nervous smile. "It only hurts when I forget it was injured." A hint of amusement touched his eyes. "Then, do not forget." Their conversation unfolded slowly, like a river learning its path. Tahoma asked about her family, her chores, and how she healed. Clara found herself speaking comfortably, surprised at how easily she opened up to him. His calmness created a space where she felt safe. She hesitated before speaking the next words, unsure if she had the courage. "That day, when I called you a wicked Apache," she swallowed. "I am sorry. I didn't mean it." Tahoma looked at her quietly. "Fear speaks louder than truth," he said gently. I understood. His understanding touched her deeply. She expected anger, or at least resentment. Instead, he offered kindness. She found herself stepping a little closer, without thinking, as if something inside her needed to close the distance. "I wasn't really afraid of you," she admitted softly. "I was afraid of the stories." A calm wind moved through the trees as if they were listening. Tahoma lowered his gaze for a moment, thinking. "Stories are shadows," he said. "They hide the real thing." Clara felt her chest tighten again. She didn't know if she was brave or foolish, but she asked the question that had stayed in her heart since the storm. "Why did you come for me that day?" Tahoma's eyes met hers, strong and gentle. "Because I heard your cry," he said. "And because I wanted to make sure you were safe." Her breath fluttered. Those words stirred something inside her that she had no name for. Gratitude, admiration, tenderness. They all came together in a warm rush. They began walking along the forest path, slowly so her ankle wouldn't strain. Birds chirped around them, and the sunlight peeked through the leaves, casting gentle rays on their faces. Clara felt strangely peaceful. Every moment with him felt meaningful, like something important was unfolding between them. But they knew their time was limited. A sudden shout echoed in the distance, settlers calling her name. Tahoma's expression changed. Not frightened, not worried. More like accepting reality. "They must not see me," he said quietly. Clara nodded quickly. She knew what would happen if the settlers found her alone with an Apache warrior. Fear would twist the truth, and trouble would follow. Before he stepped away, she whispered, "Will I see you again?" The question came out before she could stop herself. Tahoma paused. His eyes softened in a way that made her heart tremble. "If you wish to," he said. She wished it more than she could admit. Over the next weeks, Clara and Tahoma found ways to meet without drawing attention. Sometimes it was near the creek, sometimes near the old cedar tree, sometimes on the quiet hillside where the breeze hid their voices. They spoke about their families, their fears, their hopes. Clara learned that Tahoma carried great responsibility for his people. Tahoma learned that Clara felt trapped between the expectations of her town and the dreams she kept hidden inside her heart. Their connection grew deeper, not with big declarations, but with small moments laughing at something she said, walking side by side without speaking, sharing stories of childhood, and exchanging quiet glances that said more than words ever could. Clara found herself smiling more. Tahoma found himself waiting for the soft sound of her footsteps. They didn't call it friendship or anything else. They just knew that every moment together felt important. But tension between settlers and Apache groups grew stronger. Rumors floated through the town. Some spoke of stolen horses, some of disputed land, and some of fear that spread faster than truth. One evening, Clara heard two men talking outside the general store. "I saw an Apache near the hills," one said. "We need to keep watch." Her heart dropped. She knew they were talking about Tahoma. She walked home with trembling hands, fear twisting her thoughts. She didn't want him to get hurt, not because of misunderstandings, not because of her. The next day, she walked to the creek earlier than usual, hoping he would appear. The wind felt uneasy, almost warning her. When Tahoma finally arrived, she rushed to him with worry written across her face. "People are watching the hills," she whispered. "They think someone is sneaking close." Tahoma nodded calmly. "I know." "You can't come here," she said, her voice trembling. "It's dangerous." "But you are here," he replied, as if her presence alone was reason enough. Clara's breath caught. She looked at him, really looked at him, his steady confidence, his quiet strength, his gentle eyes that always softened when he spoke to her. "I don't want anything to happen to you," she said honestly. "And I don't want anything to happen to you," he replied. Silence hung between them, filled with the weight of everything unspoken. Finally, Clara took a step forward. She didn't plan it. Her heart carried her closer to him. "Tahoma, I don't know what this feeling is," she whispered, "but it scares me less than being apart." His expression changed, softened, warmed. He reached out slowly, carefully giving her every chance to step away. But she didn't move. His hand gently touched her arm, and the moment felt like the earth paused around them. "I feel it too," he said softly. There was no dramatic sound, no sudden wind. Only two people standing by a quiet creek, finally admitting what they had known in their hearts. They didn't promise forever. They didn't speak about impossible futures. They simply shared the truth of their feelings. Real, quiet, powerful. Clara once whispered, "Don't look at me like that, wicked Apache." But now she found herself wishing he would always look at her the same way, steady, warm, understanding, and full of a connection stronger than fear. As they stood there beneath the fading sunlight, Clara understood something she never learned from the old stories. The heart doesn't listen to fear. It listens to truth. And her truth was simple. Her desire to understand him was louder than her fear of him. And Tahoma, with all his quiet strength and calm presence, felt the same. Their story didn't end with a promise, it began with a truth both of them finally had the courage to accept.